Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a good afternoon to our dear listeners. I am Wawa and you're listening to IMFM in segment for Dan Dakwah every Tuesday 3 to 4 p.m. insyaAllah. And before we start this wonderful session, I want to actually invite our guest today in the studio. We have Dr. Muhammad Abbas, a lecturer of IOM with us today. Assalamualaikum and welcome to IOMFM, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Doctor, maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir, rabbi tammim bil khair. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alul huzna idza syi'ta sahla wa yassir lana umurana wa ahtim lana bis sa'ada innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. Amin amin ya Allah. My name is Dr. Muhammad Abbas bin Abdul Razak. Normally I would like to call myself Muhammad Abbas bin Abdul Razak. I am a lecturer, that comes from the fundamental and interdisciplinary studies. In short, we say acronym is FITS, right? My basic background is Islamic education, and then I did a master's and a PhD in educational psychology. Very familiar with education, theories of education in the West, in the West, right? So I think for that reason of what, I have been invited to participate here this afternoon.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for the introduction. Inshallah, today we will be discussing a topic which is suitable and very close with students. An excellent students, Imam Al-Ghazali Approach, which is the name of the title, will focus on methods taken by the iconic Muslim figure, a very prominent Islamic scholar that everyone should know, in becoming a well-mannered and excellent student. So before we go deep into the question, into the discussion, maybe Doctor can tell us a little bit, or maybe some challenges, or what has Imam Al-Ghazali have gone through in his life.
Okay.
That make him become a very prominent, one of the prominent Islamic scholars.
Yes, as you mentioned just now that Imam Ghazali is a prominent Muslim scholar. He comes during the era of the Islamic golden era, golden age of Islam, which is exactly 750. Most people say it is about 750 to 1258. 1258 is the fall of Baghdad. And that's where after the fall of Baghdad, you see that the Islamic civilization started to decline. So the falling of the empires, in the Muslim world, right? One after another. So come back to Imam Al-Ghazali, right? He was born in a place called Tus in Khorasan, right? Coming from a very pious family, but very poor background, right? He struggled, when his father died, the two sons, were handed over to a Sufi scholar to be educated. And from there, Imam Ghazali, he developed himself slowly, he traveled and he developed himself. Imam Ghazali is a great Muslim scholar who faced many challenges. Now, during his time, he has challenges, to have a debate and to answer, to the popular at that time was these philosophers, Muslim philosophers who have been influenced by earlier Greek philosophers. So he had a hard time, in reconciling, religion and spirituality with philosophy, right? So his task was so great, and he had other challenges also, right? The Mu'tazilas, the rationalists was a challenge. So the ruler of his time, the Saljuk, they employed his expertise, and he was given highest position. At that time, he has matured so much in his knowledge. He was given a very highest ranking position in the University of Nizamiya to teach and to answer all these allegations, So they were using his expertise. While he was there at that time, right, he enjoyed good life, He used to put on the very costliest, a robe and, perfume and all that. But all of a sudden, something happened to him that he gave up everything. That was the thing that happened to Imam Ghazali. There was a spiritual crisis in him. He wanted to search for some answers, He wanted to be enlightened. So he left, by giving a reason that he's going for his pilgrimage. Then he wandered all the way to Palestine, to Syria, and then he ended up going to Mecca and Medina. Of course, he performed his Hajj at that time. So by going for this spiritual search of himself, he felt enlightened. Then he came and wrote very great books like Ihya Ulumuddin, Tahafut al-Falasifa. Among the books that he wrote, Tahafut al-Falasifa, it was a book directed to the philosophers and to highlight where the philosophers have gone wrong, Because there was so much of glorifying of the ancient Greek philosophy in the Muslim world, right? And that was the time, during the Golden Age, the Islamic civilization came in contact with the Greek ideas of the Greek philosophers. So they feel elated. The mistake they was doing, they were looking, the Quran from the angle of philosophy, but they should look, the other way around. They have to put the Quran above, philosophy below, right?
Yes.
They were doing the reversal. So Imam Ghazali answers 20 problems, the philosophers faced at that time, and he was great. Now, Imam Ghazali, as a scholar, he did not negate philosophy totally, right? He says, we have to be very careful in taking knowledge from others, So he's the first one. If I'm going to look at it, I write about it, right? I say that he applied the 3A principles, right? When you take from other civilization ideas, right, it should be adopt, adapt, and assimilate. Or the last one can be integrated. When you do that, right, you get positive knowledge from others, and then you grow in your own knowledge by integrating them. So this is the approach. Now, the same approach in modern times, we use terms like Islamization of knowledge and all that, right? So I think this is brief enough. If not, we'll be going into history a lot. Maybe you have other questions. I hand over to you.
Okay, inshallah. Doctor, you have said before this that Imam Al-Ghazali have wrote some of the books, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we can find some of the purpose of education according to Imam Al-Ghazali, and how can we relate those purpose of education?
Yes.
Relating it with at-tawheed.
You're very good, right? Now, for him, the whole idea of education mainly is about moral and spiritual development, right? Besides that, he says, the type of knowledge he says, we have to acquire knowledge of God above all, first thing, right? So they are going back to Tawheed, the supremacy, of God Almighty, as the supreme being, right? Yes. And then he says knowledge of the self. Right? Many times, we talk about the world and all that. We think that we understand ourselves, but I'm telling you, if you go and think about it, right, we don't really understand ourselves, right? Unless you spend time, that word you say the word, that you evaluate yourself, muhasabah. Then you will understand. You have to go deep into your thoughts, And that was a crisis that happened when he was holding the big position, right? He thought, am I sincere in my contribution? So he doubted, right? So because he's getting a high paid salary, right? Fame, glory. And, the same can be true with, present day
Yes.
professors, great people, and all that. That's why I always say, teachers as well as students, must read Al-Ghazali. By reading Al-Ghazali, you bring down your ego. You bring down your ego, right? And the quality he was trying to say, the scholar must have humility.
Humility.
Humility is the greatest quality
Quality.
of a student also. Don't forget. Of a student also, you
Yes.
must be great. Sometimes you want to talk great about yourself. You want to impress the
Yes,
lecturer. You sometimes think the lecturer doesn't know much. You know much. So he said, no, you must have humility. Then knowledge will come to you. Patient, right? And you must be thinking about God. In Malay they used to say restu Tuhan. Itu penting. Kalau perkahwinan, you kena ada restu ibu bapa, ya. Tapi kalau dalam ilmu, in knowledge seeking, you must have the ridha from Allah. Fi mardatillah. Right?
By setting the right intention.
Right, yeah, that's the important thing. When seeking knowledge, he says, you must have the right intention. For what, right? So that is the concept about, seeking knowledge. And knowledge, he says, knowledge about God, knowledge about the self, knowledge about the world, right?
Oh, the
if
world
if you
comes
think that, Al-Ghazali, some people you say Al-Ghazali is purely Sufi side. He's always, having his head in the clouds, floating with ideas. And no, his ideas, you can have your heads in the clouds, but your feet, your legs must be firmly rooted on the ground. That is idealism. This is realism. When you put this together, then you have wasatiyah. That is Islam. Because Islam, says, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. You have to live for this world, in this world. You have to live for this world as the Khalifa of Allah. You have to fulfill the duties and responsibilities, and you have to make preparation. We won't be here forever, right? So it's a very balanced if you look into his philosophy of education, all right?
And can we also relate the Quranic ayah of wala tansa nasibaka minad dunya in the
Yes,
knowledge in gaining knowledge of world?
Yeah, I think that is in Surah Qasas, if not mistaken. Surah Qasas was 77. Yeah, 77. وَابْتَغِي فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ دَارَ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. Yeah. If you look at the translation, it's all beautiful, right? In our pursuit for a good life in the hereafter, let us not forget. You don't forget about this life that I said in the role of the Khalifa. Don't forget, right?
Our responsibility.
Our responsibility here, right? Yeah, and then do good. So as a human being, yeah, as a Muslim student and teachers, part of the Muslim Ummah, you're part of humanity. He says, do good as Allah has been good to you. Look at the eyes, ears, created in a لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. So we also try to do good things in this world. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And then we should not cause destruction, mischief on land. Allah doesn't like people who create chaos and mischief, So that is the gist of the, my running translation. Yeah, I'm not looking at any any translation. Yeah, out of memory.
So the purpose of education is not really to seek the world knowledge only, right? So according to Imam Al-Ghazali, we should first find the knowledge of God, and then second, the knowledge of ourselves, finding ourselves, understanding ourselves, muhasabah, as Dr. said just now, and then the third one is then we gain the knowledge of the world.
Yes, knowledge of the world. Right. Now, why it is important, the knowledge of the world? Because we need to survive as a human being, as a hummah, right? If you are very deep into spirituality all the time, right? Too spiritual that you neglect your duties, that is not a good quality of the Khalifa of Allah, right? So the world in which we live, we are living in an ever-changing world. Right, new things are coming to see the light of the day.
Yes.
So we should be prepared, we try to contribute. Others, what's happening now in the world, you can see, you read the media, right?
Yes.
So a lot of destruction, they're trying to destroy another
Wars.
nation, another, country and all that. That is not our purpose here, right? So a good Muslim, according to this philosophy of education and all that, who binds a good relationship with Allah, with the self, humanity here, Muslims and non-Muslims, and with the flora. Don't forget the flora and fauna also.
Yeah,
right?
the nature.
Sometimes you see in the Muslim world, people do good things. Ibadah, alhamdulillah, very good. Yeah, very good. Mumtaz, yeah, excellent, right? But they are neglecting, they throw rubbish here and all that, right? So if you follow, right, the philosophy of education, which has been emphasized by Al-Ghazali and all that. When you talk about Al-Ghazali, he's talking about a holistic concept of education, right? It's not about glorifying the mind, developing the intellect itself, right? The intellect alone will never take you to a successful life in this world and in the hereafter, much more in the hereafter. So there must be balance, So according to Al-Ghazali, he says education is also the educating the human soul to be a better person, a good human being, We must be loving, caring, and sharing. So that is the concept of Islamic education. You have a balance, right?
Yes.
But as I said just now, right? But you're looking for spiritual enlightenment and all that, right? It's an experience that every student should try. When you read books, I don't know what sort of a feeling normally people get. I say go and try this. When you finish a book, reading a book, right? You should have a feeling that as though you are on top of Mount Everest. Finishing a book, 120 pages, 150 pages, 200 pages, should give you that feeling, wow, quite a challenge, right? When you read, definitely you will feel something new. Every book that you're going to read, it's, new ideas are coming to you, right? Now, reading books beside, your textbooks are meant, engineering, economy and all that. They help you to pass your tests, to give you the knowledge how to handle calculation and all that. It's good, right? But reading literature, poems and poetries, and literature, will enrich your emotions.
The soul.
The soul, it enriches because the character, they have a color, they have, feelings and emotion, right? So next time, when you look at situations around you, right, you can replicate. It can soften the heart. I just want to remind, it all should start with the Quran. We should get that sort of experience reading the Quran, Then after that, when we have remaining time, read literature, short stories. I don't know what you call in Malay, cerpen and things like that. Short, but, it's good. You keep on reading, yeah? So that is good. So I encourage people to go through that experience, yeah? Through reading, you feel in you, because you dive into that world of the author to see the characters,
So, okay, inshallah, before we go deep into our topic, so let's take a break for a while and stay with us on IMFM, your campus radio. Come back with us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bersama dengan saya Dr. Aiman Al-Akiti dalam Wacana Minda UIA. Hadirin wal hadirat hafizakumullah. Salah satu elemen penting sebagai seorang Muslim adalah untuk menjaga rohaninya agar sentiasa khusyuk dan dekat dengan Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Oleh sebab itu disebutkan ala bi dzikrillahi tatmainnul qulub. Bahawa ketahuilah dengan mengingati Allah, berzikir kepada Allah akan menenangkan hati, tatmainnul qulub. Jadi hati ini perlu kepada ketenangan. Lawan daripada ketenangan adalah seseorang yang hatinya sentiasa dalam keadaan gundah gulana, dalam keadaan susah, memberontak, marah, tidak redha, benci dan lain-lain. Dan semua sifat-sifat yang tidak baik ini akan merosak hatinya. Oleh sebab itu, Islam menganjurkan kita untuk banyak berzikir. banyak berzikir seperti firman Allah Subhanahu wa taala, ya ayyuhallazina amanu dzkurullaha dzikran katsira. Wahai orang-orang yang beriman, maka berzikirlah kalian semua terhadap Allah dengan zikir yang banyak. Maka zikir ini berbagai-bagai tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, dan sebaik-baik zikir adalah la ilaha illallah, kerana disebutkan di dalam hadis yang sahih bahawa barang siapa yang di akhir kalamnya la ilaha illallah, maka dia akan masuk ke dalam syurga Allah.
Kapsul itu tadi dibawakan oleh yang berbahagia Dr. Muhammad Aiman Al-Hakiki dari Kuliah IRKHS. Hanya di IIUM FM, your campus radio.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. This is Fatih Salim. Don't forget to catch out my single Kembalilah and keep listening to IIUM FM, your campus radio.
Hey guys, you're back with us for an excellent student, Imam Al-Ghazali Approach. And I'm Wawa with our guest today, Dr. Muhammad Abbas, is here to inspire all of us as a student and also as an instructor, as a teacher. Okay, so before this, we have asked a question about who is Al-Ghazali and how can we integrate the purpose of education with At-Tawheed, which is the first one, finding the knowledge of the God, moral and spirituality, and the second one, the knowledge of ourselves, and then the third one, the knowledge of world. Now we are going to deep dive into the discussion. Doctor,
Yes.
what are some qualities of Imam Al-Ghazali that an excellent student should possess in their learning journey?
Very good. So as I mentioned, the same applies to student also. The quality is that the students must have humility, patience, right, and the sincere intention of seeking knowledge. Seeking knowledge, I'm going to explain here. Seeking knowledge, serves many purposes, right? There are people who seek knowledge, to be famous. Yeah, knowledge is power. Am I right? In the West, they say when you have knowledge, you can control other people, and people are very, very obsessed with power. They want power. Everyone wants power, right? So that is the purpose. But from the Islamic perspective, right, you can have fame, glory, and all these things. I'm telling you that the students, who are listening, right, you can have fame, glory, and good life, when you have good education, right? There's nothing wrong about it, yeah? So with good education, with a good degree, right, you can get better jobs, well paid, with a handsome salary, right? Is that wrong to think like that? I study, it's not like ikhlas, I cannot do that. It's a sin? No, right? But Al-Ghazali, as well as other Muslim scholars, the classical Muslim scholars, they have highlighted this, That should not be the first intention, right? The main objective, we are seeking knowledge, I want this position, I want that position, I want to be the prime minister. No, that is not the intention. To seek knowledge for the purpose of fi mardatillah. Because through knowledge we can recognize God. That's why in Islam the first verse itself says, Iqra. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So knowledge is the key, right, for the enlightenment of the soul, right? With knowledge we can do ibadah and all that. So we can seek knowledge, but to gain monetary gains and all that. But that is not should be the first intention. If our intentions are pure, we seek knowledge, to be enlightened, to get closer to Allah, to understand, the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By contemplating on the creations of Allah, and our position, and in the hierarchy of creation, right? You will be enlightened, right? So you get the blessing of Allah. You see, in many cases, all the scholars you go and study, Imam Shafi, right, Al-Ghazali, and many scholars, they were struggling in life, But later this fame and glory came to them, right? And they were not crazy about it, right? It is Allah's work. Once your intention is pure, you seek knowledge for the sake of Allah, all of a sudden, at a very prime age, when you're maturing, knowledge, you're becoming a professional, right? All of a sudden, opportunities will come knocking at your doors, right? So that is a gift from Allah, right? You accept that. But do not seek knowledge, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to destroy this guy, I'm going to challenge this guy. These are very bad intention. Sometimes things can go wrong.
Yes.
Because your purpose of learning, to destroy somebody, to take over this position or that, but you're crazy about something, right? That is mainly a materialistic pursuit in your life, right? So we have to be very, very, very careful in our in seeking knowledge. The first thing is to please Allah, to know Allah, right? That's why they say, "Awwal dinu ma'rifatullah." The first thing in Islam, is to know your God. Yeah, through knowledge, seeking knowledge, we can understand the wisdom behind the creation of things, God's majesty and might and all that, right? So that should be the real approach towards learning, right? If later you become very, very rich, hold big position, that's a gift from Allah. Enjoy it and try to help others, yeah? Don't be, when you come to fame and glory, then you want to challenge people, you use your power, you try to discredit people. That is, seeking knowledge for the wrong purpose. So we stick to that intention. Yeah? We need to purify our intention. We have to check and recheck our intention. Sometimes our intention in the beginning is very good. Along the way, right, when people recognize our talent and all that, we might change, right? So always we ask Allah to be well guided in the path of seeking knowledge. Wallahu alam bisawwab, right? When you read about Al-Ghazali, he is always talking about purification, yeah? And he says about this amrad al-qulub, yeah? Amrad comes from the marid, yeah? So amrad means the diseases of the heart, right? We have envy, right? So we envy other people sometimes, we are jealous about it, right? So we have to wash away all these ill feelings and all that. Be at peace with yourself, with Allah, right?
So I think it is important for a student to purify their intention every day, so that we can actually opens our heart and mind to get the knowledge, to gain the knowledge purely because of Allah SWT.
Yes.
Okay, so Doctor, what do you think the best methods of learning according to Al-Ghazali? But I have also heard about the hadith, أخي لن تنال العلم إلا بستة. Can we have some enlightenment on that?
Oh, is that you are referring to a hadith, right? About 6 things you are mentioning about. What are the 6 things actually? If we can recall.
Zakain wa firsi. I can't remember.
Okay, right. So now, if you ask, if you look at the similarity between Al-Ghazali and all other ulamas, medieval scholars or classical scholars, we say, right? Piety is very important. The wara is very important, right? And Imam Shafi himself was asked, by his teacher, yeah? His teacher said, that stay away from sin. Yeah? Sin can darken your heart. Yeah? Blacken your heart, pollute your heart. And when a polluted heart, is not capable of receiving light, knowledge is light.
Yes.
So light doesn't enter there. No? So stay away from sin, right? So the best thing that will be, if I look into the classical scholars and what Al-Ghazali says, that, you start the day early with prayers, like you wake up for Fajr, try to wake up slightly earlier than Fajr, that will be a bonus point for you, a plus point for you, right?
So
and we can pray tahajjud and we can dua and read Quran and wait for the azan. That will be the ideal thing that I say, I alhamdulillah, practice. And I said that to all my students, when they come to class late, I say, well, how come you can be late? Look at me, I'm coming from very far. I come here early in the morning, finishing my ibadah and all that. I come first thing, I go exercise first, then take my shower. 8:30, I'm in the class and fresh, And you come running, and then I understand, what? It is a worldwide phenomenon, right? Young people, the millennials, have become nocturnal creatures. Because during my time, we were not trained with all this. We do not have the gadgets and all that, right?
Yes.
So our pattern of life, is structured in such a way, right? After 10:30, 11, you go to sleep, and then you wake up early. Everything is easy. But now, there are activities that can keep them awake. And they go to
Yes.
sleep very late. And then after Fajr, they're still feeling very sleepy. They go to sleep, and that's where, time elapses, and then they start running and rushing, panicking. Yeah, they're panicking and rush to the class,
I also agree that we students do this qiyamul lail before they going about their day as one of the methods that we can purify our intention
You're right.
before we go to the class and gain new knowledge again. Right? Okay. So
Now, I said
inshallah-
that if you want to do Qiyamul Lail, I'll always advise, even myself and anyone who wants to do, right? If you have the strength, is good. But you think that you can become very tired, it's better not to do, around 3, and then you go to sleep again, you wake up again and then sleep again. No, right? You just have to wake up half an hour or 40 minutes before Azan. You clean up yourself, you make wudu and all that. Then you pray, right? And then by the time you finish reading, the Quran and all that, after zikr and all that, your munajat and all that, right? It's Azan already. So you don't have to go back to sleep again. You're still fresh. Then have something to eat or light breakfast. Then start moving, go
To
exercise or do things, That's how, you don't go back to sleep and you miss classes and all that, right?
I see. Okay, so it looks like we are getting more lively. So let's have a short break and give a way to our guests to take a short break too. Inshallah, stay tuned with us on IMFM, your campus radio.
الحديث 23 عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يقول يوم القيامة أين المتحابون بجلالي اليوم أظلهم في ظلي يوم لا ظل إلا ظلي رواه البخاري وكذلك مالك.
On the authority of Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, who said that the Messenger of Allah, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, said, Allah will say on the day of resurrection, where are those who love one another through my glory? Today I shall give them shade in my shade, it being a day when there is no shade but my shade. It was related by Al-Bukhari, also by Malik.
Assalamualaikum, perkenalkan nama Ambo, Elsa, dari Dinia Putri Padang Panjang, Indonesia. Kiniko, Dun Sanak sedang mendengarkan AIUM FM, Radio Kampus Kito.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everyone. You are still tuning with us, your favorite campus radio, IMFM. I hope our listeners are still energetic and can pay attention to our session today, inshallah. So Dr. Today we have been discussing about Al-Ghazali Approach in gaining knowledge. Okay, so we have been discussing about the students' role in their learning journey. So now we want to focus more on the instructor's role. Both students and instructors, they have their own role and duty to ensure a quality of education.
Yes.
So do you mind sharing some of the role and duty of both student or an instructor according to Imam Al-Ghazali?
Okay. Thanks for asking that question, because I am also a teacher, right? I always like to check on myself also, because I read on classical Muslim scholars, and the modern approach to teaching and the challenges in the modern world, right? The distractions in the classroom and all that can be quite annoying and challenging, right? But looking into the our Islamic heritage, right? That's where we try to pause and try to go back, and try to be patient in dealing with the students and all that. The teacher, first of all, the intention is to educate, to pass on the knowledge, whatever we know. And then the teacher should be also interested in the moral and spiritual development of the students, right? In some countries, not to name any country, not to offend anyone, right? They are just concerned about your akal, you have a mastery over this, and after in the class you perform outside. If they say you, the teacher sees you, the students sees see the students anywhere, right? They saying that's their life and their liberty. I cannot say anything to them, right? But from the Islamic perspective, Al-Ghazali and classical scholars, they think, we have a right, to think about their personality development. We care for the personality development of their spirituality, right? Make sure they are good practicing Muslims, all that is taken into account, right? It's not that in modern context, people say, oh, they pay me to deliver the knowledge, transfer of knowledge, I'm paid, I'm done, my job is done, right? So from the Islamic perspective, from Al-Ghazali's perspective, you go a level higher. You're concerned about their moral and spiritual development. You care. The care of a teacher towards the students, is like a care of a father towards the children, The father, when the father looks at the children not, studying hard, playing in the house, he feel annoyed, right? He will call, and that's the reason why fathers are always called the policeman of the house, while the mother is always praised, because she has been born with that fitra. She is, the iconic figure, the center of love, the birthplace of love for the children, and they learn in the word, how to love, and mother is the self-sacrificing person, a selfless being, she cares for the children more than anything, a symbol of mercy, right? And kindness, forgiveness. Father get angry with when you do wrong things, right? But that is the nature of the father. You see, when the father behaves this way and the mother is soft and loving, caring, it strikes a balance. If two of them are very soft, children are going to take you for a ride. If both of them are very harsh, always you run the family like a military camp, they're going to find love outside. They won't respect the family. They will run away sometimes from you, right? Because you are very, very strict, always talking about, grades and things like that. You never show them the loving part of you as a parent, right? So Al-Ghazali, come back to the teacher's role, right? The teacher has to have that sort of a feeling towards the students, right? Care for them. When they do wrong things, advise them in a nice way, right? Do not demoralize the students, say bad things, in front of others, and they lose respect for the teacher, and they lose respect for the class itself. They don't want to come to the class anymore, right? So in case it's a serious matter, you have to call the student, separately, privately, advise. That will be the best thing. So he says that the teacher is like a father figure to the students, right? The intention must be correct, right? Teacher must have humility, right? Though he is the man of knowledge, the center of attraction in the class, the provider of knowledge, right? But he cannot be having this feeling, pompous, feeling great. I am. No, you must be humble. This is what I know. Perhaps you go and search more. If you have any question, come back. I stand for correction. That's the best thing a teacher can say. Imam, Abu Hanifa, he says, if you don't know an answer to any question asked to you, just admit that I don't know. That is the best answer that you can provide. And go and search. So I also do the same thing also. If I cannot answer, I'll go back next class. I'll come back. I will ask my friends. I go and look in the references, right, and come back to you. If you manage to find the answer, come back
And discuss.
and discuss. And normally, what I do, I will give the mic to the student. You present. The honor is yours. Yeah, and you make the student feel acknowledge their contribution and all that, and they will do a lot better. So the teacher should not undermine the student, right? You know nothing. You are empty vessels. I'm going to fill up, right? No, right? So a teacher is a facilitator to inspire you. And Al-Ghazali says, the teacher should inspire, means you don't plan to impress, with the amount of knowledge, with the humility, with your personality, right? You can, make the students to fall in love with the subject.
Yeah.
Yes, right? So this is the trick, So teaching is also an art, right? So you go, use the right rhetoric, and there must be an opening, contents delivered, and there should be, anchoring point, and make a conclusion. So you must have this sort of preparation. If you put all these qualities of good teachers, spoken by these classical and modern teachers, educationists, right? You can come up with three things there, right? First, the teacher must equip himself with the personality. If you're a teacher, you must have a personality, a sort of a magnetic personality. People can respect, people listen to your words and all that. That is the personality. Second is the mastery of the subject. So if you're teaching certain subject, make sure you know in and out. Yeah. So you can explain, to them, with all clarity. The last one will be methodology.
Oh, methodology.
You see, you must have a way how to deliver. You have so much of knowledge, right? So we should not fail, because we use the wrong methodology, right? And we should all the time, diversify the methodology that it becomes not boring to them. If you use the same approach, I know he's going to come again, open the book and, do these exercises. And I'm talking about school level,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Do this and all that, right? So instead of me always, talking and talking, you sometimes plan it such a way you talk, you stop, and you ask people to respond. Or sometimes, you want to say something, come down, the aisles. I give you the mic, you talk, we'll listen to you. Then you have to acknowledge the contributions of students, right? So Al-Ghazali, he encouraged students creative thinking and critical thinking. Ask questions. Now, when you say ask question, my experience is not a negative thing. I don't think so. It's a negative for me to say anything about the environment, right? Many times you find students are very shy. They don't want to talk, But when they come to exam, they write everything. MashaAllah. Sometimes they write the things that are not needed there. Then you scratch your head, wow, but everything is good, lah. Wow, so long. How come in the class always quiet, So I think
I see.
something to do in the Malay world about the adab, and sometimes the word respect for teachers,
Yes.
it goes overboard. A respect for teacher doesn't mean that you don't ask question. We are okay, you can ask, but the way you ask is very important. That's where the adab comes in. Respect the provider of knowledge, right? Ask in a nice way, right? So very difficult to get students interested to ask questions. But we are not undermining, the intellectual ability of the students. Many of them are just waiting for exams to come. Then you can see they write and say more papers, yeah? They are writing and writing, right? So I say, maybe these are things that I like to see a change, in students, right?
Okay. So, Doctor, maybe sometimes students have the wrong methods of learning. For example, like some students, they come into the class and they thought that coming to the class is just learning. It's just listening the lecture, but they're not taking down some notes.
Yes.
So, what do you think about this?
True. Now, in many of these courses, I'm pretty sure that you have the standard contents. The lecturer has prepared, lectures, slides, based on first week, second week, third week, right? Until week 14, perhaps, right?
Yes.
So, when the lecturer shares these slides with the students, the students might have the wrong idea to think, oh, I have the slides, I don't have to go to class, I look at the slides, I can answer. Of course, you can answer the question and get grades, But what will be the student missing if you fail to go to the class, you absent yourself without an excuse, a valid reason, right? The fun of learning, the joy of learning, right? That is missing, right? Learning with others is always fun, There will be some jokes, some funny answers. This is, trial and error. People are trying to come up with the right answer. It's sort of a guessing game sometimes, For me, when I was a student, I enjoyed all that, right? So if I don't go to class, I say I'm missing a lot, right? So that's why we never miss classes. Those days we stay awake all the time. And those days, we don't have digital thing, It's all the alarm bang, ding, 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 right?
Yes.
It rings and then you go to, you wake up and you go to class, right? So writing notes is very important, yeah? It is our tradition. Imam Shafi said, he asked his students once, if you go to the jungle, right, to the forest, to catch an animal alive and to bring back, because there's no refrigeration. If you kill the animals, by the time you come to your home, to the town, right, where you are living, it cannot be eaten already, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible, bring the animal alive, back home, you slaughter, you eat, right? So how do you catch, and bring the animal back, And they were giving all sort of answers, Finally, the answer was, is to throw a noose around the neck of the animal. You catch it alive, you bring it back. Finish. That was the answer. This is actually not real thing, It's just an analogy. The real question is coming next. Then he asked again, then how do you catch knowledge? Knowledge presented to you, right? How much can you listen? How much can you retain, right? So how do you capture knowledge that has been presented to you? And they were saying many things. The answer was, right, to write it down. Like how you catch the animal, you write it down. So note-taking is in our tradition. And the tradition of many other civilizations too. People were writing and writing, right? Now if you ask students to bring notebook and all that, they say, I forgot this, forgot my pen and all that, right? And then they say this very, very old-fashioned taking notes, right? We somehow, right, understand the demands of the modern world, the mindset of the students and all that. Now, a teacher like me, I said that, okay, you bring your iPad, whatever, gadgets, If you can write with modern technology, why not? The idea is still the same. Capture, write it down. And then I tell them it's not word for word, right? You capture the main ideas, you write it down.
Yes.
So note-taking is very important. Another thing about teachers, Al-Ghazali said, it's a lifelong learning. You say to students, utlub al-ilm, this is the hadith, right? Utlub al-ilm min al-mahdi ila al-lahdi, right? Learn, right, from cradle till death, until you go to the grave, right? So we have to learn, right? Likewise, the same applies for teachers also. Yeah? The tutor, right, instructor also must learn all the time to upgrade your knowledge, because we are living in an ever-changing world. New things are coming to see the light of the day. So you have to update the knowledge, right? So you must have a love for books, right? That's a good quality, of a teacher, right? And then the teacher also has a role in the society, because Next to parents, teacher also have a time with the students, right? And you have the responsibility of bringing up the next echelon of leaders. So it's sort of an amana, teaching is an amana. Take it, I say Al-Ghazali and all that, take it as is an ibadah, and also an amana. That, knowledge that is given to you, how did you use it, Did you use it for a good purpose? So if you utilize in a nice way, you can see the development in students. How many times a teacher goes to the mall, right? Someone stops, Assalamualaikum, sir, do you remember me? I say, I was in your class, sir. I really appreciate, At that time, I was playful, but really now I miss you, sir. I love you, sir. I see. And then your family see, what is this happening here? Yeah, your wife and daughter sees, This is the appreciation. And teachers normally get, very nice feeling when someone appreciates, your sacrifice, the sacrifices, he has put in, right, in educating the students, right? So it's more than money, I'm telling you. For a writer, for the writer, if the article, the poem, right, anything comes out published in the newspaper, on a journal, when he looks at his writing, a joy that cannot be explained except for those who write and publish, they will understand, how that is your brainchild.
Yes.
That is your words that you put in and came out, People are reading about your knowledge. I say, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. So this is about teacher, right? Teacher must be a role model, right? Mentorship. You must show them the behavior. I emulate many good qualities from my teachers who taught me from primary until PhD level. I pray for them and other things as a student, right? Many of them passed away, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Allah forgive them all. I always think about them and I pray. I pray for myself, for my family, and my relatives. I never forget to pray also for my students, whom I taught, whom still in contact with me, coming to learn, right? So we should pray like that. We should be humble, right? These are all good qualities of a teacher, yeah? Personality is important. Mastery of the subject is important, right? And then methodology also important,
the
right?
methodology, the style or way of delivering the
Delivering,
knowledge to
make it
the
easy for
students.
them, understandable, joyful for them, or not to be too serious, right? So you educate by using. That's why if a teacher can improve his, language, we should try. There's a quote, I don't know who said it. I'm still looking for. Every time I forget to check on this. But as a teacher, when I was trained a long time ago, I learned it from my teacher. One of my professors said, a poet is not made, a poet is born. It's a natural tendency, a gift from God, right? It comes from Allah, right? It's an inspiration, ilham, right? So you try, I try. We cannot write poetry, right? We can write short stories, yeah. But poetry is something else. A poem is different. A good teacher, is not born. A good teacher is made. You try many times. You try. How many times you go back and say, what did happen in the class? Maybe I should not, said that, They might take it wrongly. You improve. Muhasabah. So you ask any teacher, after class they go back, the words will be coming. They bounce back at you, Then that's where you start to think, oh, maybe I was a little bit harsh. I look at the impression, right? So you improve yourself. As you teach and teach, and then you get a mastery over it, right? And next time when you go, you don't have to look at the notes, without the notes, you are a walking encyclopedia. Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you, Dr. Muhammad Abbas, for the sharing. And let's take a break for 5 minutes, inshallah, before we move to our last slot for today. And stay tuned for the news, music, and entertainment only at IMFM, your campus radio.
Derita itu adalah kita. Hakimi Baharudin. Permata yang kusangka ternyata kaca yang meluka. Mengheret sepi, mengosongkan diri, merakut jujur, menghimpit naluri. Alam yang dicipta, pentasnya aku, wataknya kita, seninya kaku, hilangnya rasa. Benar atau bohong, aku ketawa. Manakala hati masih kontang tak bernyawa, merangkak dalam samar, mencari, memburu satu punca. Tiga denting menjeling sombong kala iman menampar akal, kutemukan titik berharga penamat akhir. Satu cerita. Maka bangunlah, sedarlah, derita itu adalah kita. Bahagia itu juga adalah kita. Mengapa masih sangsi memilihnya?
Assalamualaikum. Hi, I'm DJ Pian from Radio IKIM and you're listening to IIUM FM, your campus radio.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to our hashtag Dan Dakwah segment every Tuesday, 3 to 4 p.m. InsyaAllah. We are near the end of today's episode. So far, we have been discussing about aligning the Tawheed, the concept of Tawheed, and also the purpose of education. According to Imam Al-Ghazali, we have seen how there is three level of knowledge that a person should seek for, which is the first one, the knowledge of God, and the second one, knowledge of ourselves, knowing ourselves, or we terms it as a muhasabah, and then the last one is the knowledge of world.
One more, he said, it was that the fourth one is the knowledge about the hereafter.
Yes,
that we have
knowledge
to, don't
about the
forget,
hereafter.
all this, is eventually
bring-
culminate in the hereafter.
Yes.
So we are going over to the hereafter one day, right?
To
So
the hereafter.
we have to prepare for that also.
Okay, so the last one, we have also to prepare about our hereafter affairs.
Yes.
Whether we will, with our final destination, inshallah. Okay, and then we have
Asante.
also covered about the role of students and instructors in the learning system. What and instructors need to instill in the students, and we have also discussed about students' manner in class in terms of taking notes, capturing the knowledge. Okay, so inshallah, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Muhammad Abbas for sharing an insightful discussion with us. Thank you so much, Doctor.
You're most welcome.
We have a very insightful and fruitful discussion, so many things that we have discussed so far. And Doctor, perhaps you have some hopes for students and instructors in brief? Any hopes that you think
Okay.
the students
Share
and
with
instructors, yes,
share-
that you
okay.
can share with us?
Thanks for the question, right? So, on the side of the lecturers, I've explained already, right? The sort of relationship we must have with the students, right? We must have this feeling, that we are, teaching and helping, nurturing and guiding students, the way we do it for our children. So our feeling for our children, for our students, is like looking at them like my children, right? So that's the feeling normally I get, when I say, when they make mistakes and all that. How many times my son has done that to me also, right? So we try to forgive them, ask for forgiveness, and guide them. Do not condemn, do not demoralize them, demotivate them, so that is, it's not acceptable in the teaching environment, right? No matter how bad the situation, the performance of the students, we must always encourage, if they are not getting for the first time, we always encourage, you're almost there, try harder, right? So better luck next time, spend more time revising, be, more prepare well next time, and you'll get a better score, right? So that is the thing. And students, we have to be diligent, right? We learning is not only learning should not be confined to the four walls of the classroom or lecture theater, right? Anything under the sun that you experience, the activities you do, it can be a learning experience, right? So don't fall into this mindset, I just read from the books, right? The ayatullah, if you look at the Quran, Muslim scholars says, the signs of Allah, right? The greatness of Allah is not there, The ayat means not the written ayah of the Quran, right? Also what is written in the universe, right? That's why as much as we read, and we look into the world around us and we glorify Allah. Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafil layli wan nahari la ayati lil albab, and there are many verses, right? So this is also learning, looking into the universe, right? And you do some contemplation, tafakkur, tadabbur and all that. It's learning also. So just don't memorize, And Socrates is the one who said, if you study to remember, you will forget. How many times you look, students, they know the stuff, after the exams, they forget the whole thing. You ask them, what did you learn from me? I don't know, something about worldview, and then they're scratching their head, right? So he says, but if you study to understand, you will remember. So we should take the second one. Anything that we study as students, they are listening, right? As students, try to understand, try to make sense, and the best and effective knowledge that you can have, it is to put into practice what you learn. Let's say you learn about the morals of the Prophet, the kindness, try to practice. Imam Ghazali says, through education, he said, if an animal, can change its nature, if animal can be trained, to do some act, extraordinary act, it is through training they can do, Likewise, no one should lament and say that I cannot change myself, I'm born in this nature. My personality is such. You may try, emulate. Learning through imitation, right, is also a form of learning also. We all imitate the Prophet. Have we seen the Prophet with our eyes? No. We have never, we will not at the same time with the Prophet. But all that we know about the Prophet is from the Quran and from the Sirah, from the Hadith, the behavior, right? And we read and we try to emulate the Prophet. Oh, he was so kind to children. He was so respectful to elders, And we practice that, right? So we also can learn, right, from the environment, learn from your friends, and others, right? So learning is what is learning actually? Learning is the broadening of the horizon of thinking. Yeah, so broaden up your mind, and see things, from a broader perspective. That is learning, It's just not memorizing, Finish exams, you finish, you forget about it, right? So that's my advice, So my good advice to normally, the advice normally I give to my students, don't stay in the room for too long, engage with your gadgets, or some brothers like to play games, video games and all that. I don't know what, online games or what, I don't know, right? There's so much of noise and all that. It is good, in the morning or in the evening, after Asr or after Fajr, go for a walk, go for a jog, But Imam Ghazali also, come back to Imam Ghazali. Imam Ghazali also encouraged that, after memorization of the Quran, after doing heavy, subjects in the morning, right? In the evening after Asar, go and do physical exercise. Yeah. Doing the physical exercise will re-energize your body. Then you are prepared in, evening, if you want to do some work, homework or whatever, right? It's good, right? So it's all about, keeping the mind, body, healthy. The mind, body, and the soul, don't forget. The food for the soul is the tilawah, reading of the Quran, the prayers, the ibadah, the zikr, the tawbah. All that can be nourishment for the soul. For the body is good food, all right? You take care of your balance, the pyramid of food pyramid, you take care. Make sure you have vegetables, right? Enough water and protein and carbohydrates, right? So food for the thought, for the mind, is reading, doing maths and all that. Well, contemplation all helps, right? So all three need to be educated. The body, it needs something. The mind needs something, and then for the soul also. So Islamic concept of education is a balanced thing, right? So you're talking about spiritual development, intellectual development, social development, psychological development, emotional development. You have to look into all these areas, right? Once you put all these things together, you work on every area of education, right? Then you became a integrated personality. Now, if not, something will be missing. You are either very good at maths, you are solving equations and all that, but your interpersonal relations with people, you don't know how to speak in a kind way and all that, you'll be lacking something, right? So Islamic concept, the Islamic concept, the Islamic philosophy of education, propagated by early Islamic classical scholars, is an integrated approach, a holistic education. Make sure our students in IIUM, get a holistic education. Before you leave the gate, 4 years later, right? Make sure you are an integrated personality, you are marketable, you will have a good life and a good future. With that, I think I end my sharing with you, right? Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
I
wabarakatuh.
hope students can take that sharing as our guidance for the rest of the lecture week and for the rest of our life, inshallah, as long as the learning journey is going on. Okay, so to IMFM lovely listeners, thank you for lending your ear and time to listen to our program. And I would love to remind you guys to keep updated with IMFM updates by following our social media on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter, and keep subscribing and listening to our YouTube channel. So stay tuned for our next program. I am DJ Wawa, only at IMFM, your campus radio. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Attention to book lovers at IIUM. Get ready for an exciting new program on IIUM FM. Every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m, tune in for Pages of Karangcraft with DJ Wawa, where we will feature inspiring authors from Karangcraft. Plus, we will be giving away 3 books every week to 3 lucky listeners. So don't miss out on this chance to dive into the world of books with us. Only on IIUM FM, your campus radio.
Kami dari Ilmu Komunikasi Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, Indonesia, teruskan mendengar IIUM FM, your campus radio.